Hi there, Dawn McVey here. Today we're going to talk about some of the different things you can do with bordered die-cut strips, including creating really pretty layered backgrounds. So let's get right to today's project.
Okay, so when talking about border dies, obviously there are lots and lots of different ones. Here are just a few, and there are lots of different things you can do with them besides just using them as a single border strip on a project. One thing you can do is take several of these dies and sort of mix and match and layer them in different ways so that you can create a unique little border. You could put these three together, for instance, layer just like that, and use the three together to create a much wider, more interesting border on your card or project. So that is a fun thing to do. Another thing you can do is use these scallops in a couple of different ways. This card is one that I made, gosh, it's been several years ago now, but I love the way the scallops created sort of a ruffled effect, and so I keep this on display here in the studio just because it inspires me and reminds me, again, how much I love these dies. So another thing you can do is you can use all three of the scallops, but use them with the same color paper. So what I did here is I graduated the sizes from smallest to largest. So there's 3 strips of the small scallops, 3 strips of the medium, 3 strips of the large. And by keeping the color of the paper the same all the way down, it really allows the size differential to stand out and be what you notice. So that's a really fun way to use the scallops. We're going to make a card similar to this today, except instead of using the different sizes, we're only going to use the medium scallops, and we are going to use those with, or this die, with multiple colors of pattern paper strips so that we can graduate the color rather than graduate the size down the card. So let's get right to it. To start off with, I've got a piece of Melonberry cardstock. It's been cut to 3 3/4 inches by 5 inches, and we may trim a little bit off of this when we get to that point in the card, but for now I'm starting with this just in case I need that much space. So first thing I'm going to want to do is use some score tape to add strips of adhesive. This makes this so fast and easy when you can use score tape. Whoops. And score tape is so reasonably priced. I think you really get a lot of mileage out of it for a relatively small price. This is the 1/8 inch score tape, so it's the super thin one, but it's perfect for what we need here. So I'm going to go ahead and add adhesive to the back of all of these strips, and I'll be right back with you. Okay, so I've got all my adhesive strips added to the back, and I'm going to start adding these one row at a time. On this first row, though, I'm going to use the highest point in the scallop. I'm going to put that right at the bottom edge of that cardstock so that there you can see it. I'm going to move it down just so that you can't see those, you can't see the bottom edge of the cardstock. That's going to be our guide. And I've got 2 raspberry fizz strips here first. And you'll notice, rather than stack the scallops exactly one above the other, I'm going to shift them side to side, sort of like you're bricklaying, just for a little bit more interest. And now we'll do some pure poppy. One more. I've got 2 each of 4 strips here, so a total of 8 scallop strips. And when I line these up, I'm just looking to kind of keep the same distance between this scallop and the sort of the bump below it. I'm trying to just do that. That's what I'm using as my gauge all the way down. This is some berry sorbet. I'm not worrying about the edges here because we'll trim all of that off. I just cut the strips to about 5 inches each. By making them longer, it allows us to trim everything off when we're done, and it will all be perfectly even. And it's just kind of a faster, easier way to cut your strips because you're not having to be super precise. Last one. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I've got a strip of berry sorbet cardstock here, just a really thin strip. I'm just going to use a two-way glue pen to add some glue along that strip, and I'm going to put it right along the top edge of that pattern paper. So now that everything is adhered in place, I'm just going to flip it over, use some scissors to trim off the edges. And the other side. And lastly, I've got a stamp here from the We Go Together stamp set. This is the You Make Me Happy When Skies Are Gray stamp, and I'm going to stamp it with Pure Poppy ink. I wanted to keep everything really monochromatic, so I wanted to use one of the ink colors, one of these paper colors from the card for my ink color, rather than doing like a black or gray or a brown. I chose the Pure Poppy because it's kind of the darkest color, so it will help the sentiment to stand out more, and I really like the way the Pure Poppy looks when it's stamped on melon berry cardstock. So now that we are all stamped and finished, I'm just going to trim off a wee bit off the top edge here, and I'll be right back with you. Okay, so I trimmed just a smidge off the top, and now we are ready to add this to the front of our card. I've got a piece of rustic cream cardstock that I have cut and scored to be a standard A2 sized card. That means it's 4 1/4 inches across by 5 1/2 inches down. And I'm going to put this right in the center. And then lastly, I'm going to go back in with my fingers and just fluff all of these scallops forward. Obviously, if you're going to put this in the mail, you can do this and they're probably going to get flattened back out quite a bit. But particularly if you're going to be hand delivering this card, or you don't have to put it in an envelope, or you want to tie it onto the front of a gift bag, for instance, and let it sort of serve as your card and a giant gift tag, which I do regularly. I think your cards are so pretty sometimes it seems a shame to stick them in an envelope. So don't be afraid to use them as the gift tag too. But anyway, if you're going to be hand delivering this, then you for sure want to fluff these forward, because it just allows all those layers to really pop, and it really brings your eye to the fact that you've got a lot of different layers there. So there we have it, a background pattern created with multiple border die cut strips.
I hope you've enjoyed today's projects. I can't wait to see your take on today's challenge. If you decide to play along, be sure and head over to Nicole Hetty's blog, where you can leave a link to your project so we can all see what you came up with. Thanks for watching and have a great day. This has been Dawn McVey with Make It Monday.